I am just extremely excited. I am very hyped. And so, we're going to channel this energy into introducing you to this next run. I have another member of RPG Limit Break here with me, continuing this RPG Limit Break block. I am also very excited for this run. We have the Sid here with Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, Hard New Game Plus, Intermission. Sid, why didn't you explain what this run is?
Since we're a little bit behind, I want to help get you guys back on schedule, and we'll explain. So let's start the timer in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Yeah, so I really do like the New Game Plus categories. Hard is only available in New Game Plus, so there's a lot of cool things we can do. It's kind of drags me to it, but the reason we have a word salad going on is Intermission is the rebuild of the game here. For the PlayStation 5, that's unfortunate. That little dance here will only happen if a couple of conditions are met. We're doing our best to avoid it, but I messed up that combat scenario. Intergrade is actually the rebuild or remake for the PC/PS5 version. Okay, thank you. And Intermission is actually the DLC. So it's this list of things that they just kind of were like, here's a bunch of descriptors. Okay, bad rat. It's going to be one of those days, I see. So we would have already reset in a PB attempt, but it's a marathon run, so we're going to let it slide. A lot of these early fights...
You're doing great already. Yeah. You're doing great.
Early on, we're just trying to avoid that dance. And if we take combat a specific way, we can. Unfortunately, PB attempts are plagued by resets here, specifically because that dance is about 3 to 5 seconds a pop, and it adds up real quick in a 40-minute run. But it's a charity marathon, so we're going to be doing this for some actual fun instead of getting salty. Yeah, well, I probably should donate for every time I get salty if I'm going to say something like that.
How deep are your pockets?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm going to be poor before this is over.
That one.
Gotta get out the whiteboard.
I would like to point out that he speaks for himself and not the commentators. We are not doing that.
This is accurate.
Yeah. So, a lot of the cool things are kind of all over the place. One of the big things that draws me to New Game Plus is actually the ATB building materia. In a standard, like, easy or normal run on New Game, you struggle to build ATB quite a bit and have to engage in normal combat where you're just kind of whacking enemies to get your ATB built up so you can do your strong attacks. In New Game Plus, you have pretty much everything maxed out, so we get to start with a first strike, so we start with 1 to 2 ATB in Remake. We have Skill Master, so every time we do 3 different named attacks, we get ATB back. And there's actually synergized attacks where we can team up with Sonon shortly. And those will actually count for 2, so Skill Master's super good in this. We also have ATB Assist, so when we do 2 different moves together, our other characters will gain some ATB. Please get off me. Thank you. There we go. Having a little bit of fun here. The early fights are going a little bit sideways, but it is what it is. We're actually out of here, so it doesn't matter anymore. That's how that works, right?
Yeah, just keep running forward. It's all good.
I'll get to the end eventually if I keep trying.
Anyway, so yeah, so we're playing as Yuffie. So for those of you who know Final Fantasy VII, you'll know who Yuffie is. She's this young kind of ninja thief from Wutai. And I think basically what Square have done here is they've used the opportunity to use this DLC. It was a bit of a test for them to learn what they could do graphically for doing Rebirth, because it'll let them scale the engine to a newer version, but also it allowed them an opportunity to give Yuffie a bit more of a backstory here, because as you know from the OG one, you kind of just bump into her in the forest, so they used this to expand on her backstory a wee bit, and yeah, I think it's a really good DLC. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the lore it added.
Yeah, it also manages to, because Yuffie is entirely optional, right? So it
yeah.
needs to integrate her into integrate. It manages to integrate her into the overall story and make it actually feel like she belongs. Whereas in the original, she just kind of exists.
Yeah, I mean, although Vincent was optional, his backstory was very clearly spelled out. Yuffie's wasn't really.
Yeah, you get a little bit by visiting her hometown, and you get a little bit with Vincent with Lucrezia, but they both kind of have a lot of holes in their backstory. Vincent gets a lot more in Dirge of Cerberus, but Yuffie does not get anything interesting like that.
Well, here we are.
And so yeah, here we go. Yuffie meeting Avalanche, and you can hear there's Biggs and Wedge talking in the background. Classics of the genre.
Not Biggs, not Jesse, not Wedge. Hello, guys. We're gonna be friends. So we can actually fast forward through the Mashable dialogue here. One of the big distinct differences between Remake and Rebirth is Remake is loaded with Mashable dialogue, while Rebirth has a single line of dialogue into a skippable cutscene. For better or worse, that's just kind of how it is. But they did introduce fast forwarding in cutscenes, which is really good for boss fights, but it also makes these Mashable dialogues a little bit quicker, because there's plenty of like pauses where characters kind of wait to speak or play out an animation, so it'll save a little bit of time.
And that was the Fort Condor fights done.
Yeah. The other thing is that Fort Condor fight is awful in New Game because you need unit RNG to get through it. But in hard mode, I select a board that has a bunch of spells attached to it, so I can just fire off all my spells and end the minigame immediately. It's a really nice little quality of life for hard mode versus a New Game run.
So this is another thing that is being expanded on in the lore here. So this is the wider group of Avalanche. In OG7 we think it was just the crew that we ran with, you know, Barrett and co. But we learn in Remake that in fact there is a larger group of Avalanche, and they use the Yuffie DLC to explore some of those members.
Yep. A lot of Mashable dialogue here.
Yeah, the existence of expanded Avalanche has been known, but it was definitely not in the original 7.
It was like, what, cell phone games and some other side content?
Yes. It was before Crisis, which was a cell phone game, like a flip phone cell phone game.
Flip phone game?
Yeah, before
Oh,
Crisis
man.
is never made.
Carbon date me, please.
And again, I love bits like this. So yeah, they're advertising the Happy Turtle, and this is just, we know that that's a pub in Wutai, and it's the amount of little bits of lore and story that they weave through all of these things that make me love Final Fantasy games. Not just 7, but all of them. I just love how they connect all the things together.
Yeah.
And everybody's favorite friend here, Chadley.
The Happy Turtle showing up here is really nice, because the flyer is kind of like a small side quest you can do in the OG, but it never really appeared in Remake, so they kind of added it in here, and it makes a little bit more sense with Yuffie being the lead character, that she would be interacting with Wutai in such a way.
So here we have Sonon. This is the new character, actually.
It's also uncontrollable, so I both love and hate him at the same time.
Yes, we cannot control him. So Sonon serves a number of purposes, as we will see as the run goes on here. But I would say arguably the biggest one is, well, some lore for Yuffie as well. But honestly, it's kind of like a test demo. Like, Sonon is blatantly the test demo for the synergy skills that ended up being used within Rebirth.
Yeah,
and they made him unplayable to play around with that, I guess. I don't know, whatever.
I think, like, they didn't want to build out a new character that may or may not be important to the storyline or playable later. And they added in actually perfect guarding. So the shurikens actually have abilities. If I perfect guard an attack, it'll give me certain buffs, just like in Rebirth. The really cool one is actually the 4-point shuriken. If you perfect guard, you get an ATB boost, so you just get some ATB out of it. So casually, like, perfect guarding with a 4-point shuriken can build you a lot of ATB really quick, but the other ones give you, like, barrier, mana wall, haste, regen, some cool things like that. But Sonon actually allows us to synchronize, which in the Rebirth, you have two versions. You have Synergy abilities, which after you've used a certain amount of ATB, you can do a team attack, or Synergy skills, which are activated through guarding. In this mode, we have to actually sync up and then use a team-up attack. So Art of War and Windstorm will both get buffed as long as both characters are available and have ATB. And we're going to be using that quite a bit to get some extra damage out. But it is definitely a, like, beta or alpha, whatever you want to look at it for the Rebirth synergy stuff.
Long as Shinra goes down. So what's
Yeah, I genuinely think Intermission started off as a tech demo internally, and they probably just ran with it.
I just, where's my Zack tech demo? I want my Zack tech demo.
Yeah, we all wanted the DLC properly at the end of Rebirth. I was like, you know, come on, you did it already. You've set precedent. Give us another DLC.
We won't give you one. Lies. I know you want my money. Take it, please.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, I mean, they have a pretty good reason, right? Yuffie genuinely needed a way to tie back into having the DLC with Expander story and be tech demo because there's a new console generation coming up, like, around the corner. Like, that all makes sense, whereas, like, the only other person you could argue it for is Vincent, but Vincent does have the story, so, like, I guess you would have to make it Zack. But I think that's part of the mystery, and they don't want us to know that, so,
Yep. Maybe we'll get it closer.
Also, at some point, we'll get back to actually, you know, gameplay and fighting.
Gameplay, yeah. This right here.
Speaking of gameplay, this is the right here. You're going to hear like 2 notes of it is the best song in the Rebirth trilogy so far.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth, but since we added in the transformation and the Weiss Superboss, kind of need to spend my time wisely. As much as I'd love people listen to that song.
Girls back to the Don's mansion.
The transformation cutscene is really funny. It's definitely worth a watch.
Oh, and how do you know what it looks like?
Weiss is also another very interesting fight. I would classify Nero, which is the boss of this DLC, as a super boss. He has a lot of very, frankly, ignorant attacks. The devs gave him some very, very cruel attacks. So we're gonna have to go toe-to-toe with him pretty harsh. And Weiss will be fighting with the main party, which is only available once you clear the DLC. And he's not any easier. If anything, he's much harder. I'll show you kind of a more reasonable way for a casual player to get through it without stun locking him with spells like most of the speedruns you'll see.
At least Weiss is kind of structured. I feel like Nero just does whatever.
Yeah, the trick with Nero is to let him hit you and then hit him back harder. That's really our strat. Oh, you're attacking, I see. That's cute. I can hit harder. All right. Do have a little bit of walking time if you have anything you need to say, Sel.
Whatever it was.
Indeed I do. There we go. We found the problem. I was muted in Discord. I have a $20 donation here from an anonymous donor who says, Yuffie's transformation sequence is so cool. Billy, I must see it. We are only $20 Canadian away from getting to see that transformation sequence, so I believe in you, chat. I know we can get there. And as well, that Weiss Superboss is only $10 away, so both of the incentives for this run are really, really, really close to getting that.
Absolutely.
Exclamation mark donate chat to get to see more Final Fantasy VII and more Prevent-A-Thon.
Yep. So, I did actually learn a new route recently to save a little bit of time in the early game here. There's one enemy in particular that I will point out, which is the whole reason I ended up learning the new Chapter 1 route, just because that fight was obnoxious. We do some things here to avoid casting spells. It also makes it so that we can take our MP up off, which the big thing is with the remake, MP up and HP up are 50% a pop and cap at 100. So they do a lot more than they do in Rebirth. So that is a... Ooh, nice. That almost hit. Let's go. I almost got punished.
And also, you see a classic thing there that we do all throughout all of these remake, rebirth speedruns is the moment you set something off that you know is going to win you the fight, you're already running to the next step. You're not waiting to see the end of it. You're always moving. The moment you've set off your magic attacks, it's keep going.
Excuse me, game. What? All right. I literally have never had this happen before. Yuffie is refusing to move, so we're just gonna reload the autosave. I'm not gonna sit there and try and figure out what's going on.
That was...
It's gonna push me...
Okay, chat, say it with me. That's never happened before.
Legitimately never happened before. That pushes me really far back because I never expected that to be a thing. Unfortunately, I don't have a save that's closer. The next one is pretty far back, so we'll just redo these first couple of fights.
It's giving more time for people to donate to see that information.
That's exactly what I was going for.
I thought I got all the cursed energy out when I was doing practice earlier, but apparently I have summoned the greatest curse of them all.
Instead, you are never free of the curse.
Apparently not. I guess it must have trapped me in the throwing shuriken minigame because it hit the crate on the way back.
It seemed like some sort of like animation state couldn't update due to where you are now standing on the cold cards or something. I have no idea.
This game does interesting things, and I didn't realize that I would find a soft lock while I was at it.
Not too shabby, son.
Kind of notorious for it, but I gotta say, this is the first marathon soft lock I've managed to wander into. Wow. Impressive game.
I mean, there is quite a few soft locks between Remake and Rebirth, but there is other known ones in this DLC, but never seen that one. Never seen that one. Okay, don't do it this time.
I don't know what I did. All right, let's we'll just save here on the off chance that happens again.
New marathon safety save strats, folks.
When she started slow walking, I knew something was going wrong, but I was like, I can just walk through this ? I was very wrong. Honestly, I don't even know if I could have brought up the save menu. This is...
We're doing it live, it's fine.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. All right, yeah, we just wanted to make sure that we got that transformation in.
Speaking of that transformation...
Yeah,
Okay, so the other thing that Square liked to do in this game and in its full Rebirth and Remake, they like these kind of scrolling sections where they try to do kind of mini games.
Yeah, they're like.
So we're going to get more of this. Throwing is a big part of it, and obviously Yuffie has her shuriken, so they use her a lot. When it comes to stuff like this, and it's expanded on even more in Rebirth. There's way more done with the environment around where you interact with it at range. One of the biggest complaints we had in Remake was aerial combat. It was, I'll say, dreadful, and we'll leave it.
The easiest way I can explain it is aerial combat had the parabola of a brick. You jump to the enemy, you hit them, and then you fall down directly. And that is that.
Or the enemy would decide to just fly away from whatever attack you had unleashed on it, and thus you did no damage. So they used, again, this to fix a lot of the aerial combat that we had an issue with, particularly as Yuffie's a ranged character.
Yep.
So that helped a lot, because previously we only really had Barrett, who could do physical ranged, and it was so much nicer to have more options for that.
Some, okay, but, her big hit was Tempest, and that was supposed to stay in place so enemies would just fly out of it. The big upgrade was making wind target and stick to enemies, so it made aerial combat bearable, but the fact that ATB is needed to make aerial combat good is still a problem. Luckily, they fixed that heavily in Rebirth. Aerial combat is so smooth. All right, so this is the enemy I was always yapping about that I rerouted the whole thing, or learned a whole new route for, rather.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, this guy is not fun. And he got wrecked. Get out of here. That's why I learned a whole new route, because that guy, that dog bites, quite literally. There we go. Nice.
So do you want to explain stagger mechanics?
Yeah, so every attack kind of has two different values to it, the actual damage and stagger. A lot of things will push enemies into pressure, and everything has additional values from there. Ice is really good at staggering enemies. So basically any of the bulky enemies we run into, like that Wrath Hound, our #1 priority is stagger, 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 stagger. Luckily with New Game Plus Hard, there's a lot of situations where we can push enough damage out where we don't need to bother. But because our damage is heavily limited in the Yuffie DLC, stagger becomes the name of the game. We use Gotterdammerung for free limits with Sonon. It's very good at pushing enemies into pressure, so it makes getting staggers easier. In the main category, we have a bunch of Fury Rings on everybody to get a permanent Berserk debuff for a 30% damage buff at the cost of taking 30% more. We actually have the Gozu and Mezu drive, which we can only use with one piece of armor, so only one character can equip it at once. Currently, we have the Gozu drive on, which gives us a whopping 50% damage buff when we're at full HP, so it lets us wreck face, as long as I make sure to not get hit too many times before I do something.
One of the most common things you'll see is doing every category. If the boss fight has multiple phases, we will sometimes intentionally delay stagger until like phase 2 or phase 3, just so we can then push through that phase even faster. So we'll deliberately use attacks that don't build the stagger up quite as much, and that involves so much practice and routing to make sure that you use them correctly, because normally our instinct is, you know, how fast can we do damage, so sometimes it actually matters to be a wee bit slower because it's overall faster for the fight.
So we're coming up to the transformation cutscene, so you got like a minute to get that snipe in if we haven't already met it.
Come on, chat. We still need $20 to get that met. I believe in you. ! Donate in chat. Get your donations in quickly.
Hey, do I need to find another soft block? Don't make me do it, chat.
I mean, this is a box mini game. If you find another one right now, I wouldn't be surprised.
Don't tempt me. I will find it. Come on, Yuffie. You can do it. You can do it, Yuffie. I trust in you. I actually managed to do that in Temple of the Ancients. I was just like, I want that chest, and kept rolling at the edge, and then ended up clipping into the null void, and I was just like, well, that was fun. But Pashant for finding out of bounds. Not so much for moving through it. I actually had a pretty nasty one in the original remake, where like I glitched out one of my saves, so I was saved out of bounds, which is actually something they use now to skip into chapter 13 early. But the glitch save would like load me outside of Hojo's lab and stuff, so I was like 1,000 meters away in in-game units, but you could see through like the entirety of the lab from top to bottom. There was some like really funny stuff. I think I have a clip of it somewhere, but we're getting
the glitch signs.
Yeah.
Oh.
He said, I have some news for you.
Yeah.
The incentive has been met.
Let's go. All right, I don't need a soft lock anymore. Good.
No, we get to watch this awesome cutscene.
For the donation?
Okay.
Or should I hold on the donation?
Yeah, we're all
No. Yeah, we got another 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Go for it.
We have $25 from Yuffie, the dazzling ninja herself, here to make sure no incentives get left behind. Hiya!
Nice.
Thank you for getting that. We are still $10 away from that Weiss Superboss. I know we can get there, chat. That has to be met by the end of the run, but thank you so much for getting that transformation cutscene met.
Yeah, if you guys want to have some fun, Weiss will be a pretty fun one. I don't really have a super tight route, so it'll be a little bit more freeform. And he'll have plenty of opportunity for trolling me, so if you guys want to actually have fun, you might as well buy in. I think it's a good one.
I think my favourite part of this entire DLC was how they brought in the kind of Yuffie track. You know, just the background music.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a moment in Rebirth, which if you've not played it yet, when you meet her lying down on a sofa and she just sings away. And I don't know if I want to spoil the lyrics or not here for people, but they really should play it and hear it.
I rarely like am super like, yeah, let's do party dialogue, but I walked up to her and I went through the whole thing with her, and
oh yeah, multiple times. I've genuinely listened
every
to that
time
whole
I walk
section.
in there during a cutscene, I start humming it to myself. So this is the transformation cutscene. I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit because this camera takes a bit.
Now spill it.
There you go.
Who gave you that information?
I was told we're actually only $5 away from Weiss thanks to the ability to split donations between incentives.
Let's go.
I'm gonna ask you again. All right. Tell you. It was Rufus. You don't say. Or was it Hojo?
Nice going, Gigi.
Ready to do this, boss?
Born ready.
Great. I'll draw their attention. You grab our guy.
A diversion, huh? I like it. But don't forget, I'm the leading lady.
This cutscene is a let him cook moment.
Evildoers, over here!
What the hell?
That's exactly what I was hoping you'd ask. And action! He has a beguiling ninja. The world's greatest materia hunter. But who am I truly? Let the onlookers wonder no more. Sword pursuing the rare wound. A single white rose of Wutai. The one and only
Every time.
Never mind. It's just some kid. Right?
You just know in their heads they're going,
What?
who?
Why? How? Also, not sure how this works, but sure.
Yeah.
Award-winning performance, boss.
Remember, physics don't apply in cutscenes, that's the rules.
Got eyes on hostiles.
Pretty much, yeah. Except when you're falling from a beam. It's it's give and a take. Every once in a while it applies, but not all the time.
made it less gross.
Okay, I figured that was gonna happen, but that's fine. That's okay.
Okay, so this is one of those fights where, classic Final Fantasy, we have a mech. So guess what we want to burn through? Lots of lightning. We are going to try and build up our ATBs because that's what matters. There's some synergy attacks we want to use. You see, they're synergizing. We've pushed him to his damage cap at the moment, so we literally are just waiting now.
If I do this
There's
right,
not
we
a
can
whole lot
avoid
we can do.
stopping Giant Pete here, but I only learned it a few days ago, so I've gotten it like literally once. I wanted to show it off, but it's not as easy as it looks because you have to actually hit him during his attacks or else Giant Pete will get stunned. So, luckily at this point we went some goofy setups. It's kind of a funny one. I'm not gonna use that way, that's not right.
So what it's actually doing here is it's also doing some animation cancels to try and get extra attacks in. So the attack animation goes on a wee bit longer than that, but you can cancel out of it and go again faster. We use that quite often in these runs. We're using it when we're parrying around as well, and it just helps you move faster as well between fights.
I'm gonna burn this ATB boost here just so that, because the animation's a set length. Thundaga, and then I'm gonna tag the tail as soon as it drops in. It's a nice little setup so that we guaranteed hit the tail. Otherwise, it takes a while to target it and make sure the Thundaga hits. At this point,
Yeah, he uses ATB boost there without actually needing the ATB it gets. It's purely for timing.
it feels so wrong, but it's so right.
And that is how you nuke down the final phase of a boss.
Yep. That's actually an older strat, because we used to just spam Thundaga there, but to make the newer strat work with less MP, we went back to the Art of War into Banishment. Banishment's a really good move, but we actually don't use it all that often. It gets buffed the more ATB we boost, and once it gets to level 3, it hits like an absolute truck. Unfortunately, it does cost an ATB to activate it, but once you've burned 3 ATB, you get a really hard-hitting move. It's really good in Rebirth, too, but it's a setup move, obviously.
And because they felt they didn't put enough of Roche into the first part, we meet him here.
Yeah, we could play him in Fort Condor, but the only minigame I hate more than Fort Condor is Box Bash. At least Yuffie Box Bash.
I think we're good here.
And then it's the pump minigame in the main category.
I was going to say, pump minigame, I think wins out as the most hated thing because it's the only one we have to do during the speedruns, and yet it's the only one you can lose time on. You can't actually gain time on it ever.
It's one of
You either get it right, you get it right 3 times in a row, or you're cursing that you missed.
I swear, I'd pay like $100 or $200 if somebody could find a glitchless skip for it. Because you can skip a ton of the sewer and the pump, but you skip a lot of
We
it.
come back right before it.
Yeah. So it's like, yay! That's cool. I'm having fun, aren't you? So normally we
Listen, if you don't think me and Foxy all looked for ways to avoid that, you've got yeah. Trust me,
looking
we've
at
got hours
the
at
new
it.
chapter 13 skip. Yeah, I know. Everybody has looked high and low in this game. The things that are done to this game in the name of a glitch speedrun are borderline criminal. It's
Not exactly my favorite topic.
this game has been torn apart. And
I still don't believe we brought back 13 skip.
yeah, like you have to fight, do a fight with Chadley, and then you clip out of bounds, and that gets you set up to go out of bounds. Like, so you actually have to not do one of Chadley's missions. It's so I don't even know what possessed them to try all that, but I'm impressed.
So we should probably go back to the game we're on just now. We're kind of basically invading, Shinra's tech research lab here. This is the home of Scarlet.
So yeah, doing
This is
inputs
Scarlet
with both
lives.
characters can be a little bit goofy, because once you do an input through someone's shortcuts, the game kind of soft locks you out of it, and you have to release the shortcut and then re-input it to go to the other character. So I missed inputting Thundergut with Sona on there, which is why I was kind of like making a funky face.
That's probably the single biggest thing between how casual players play this game and how speedrunners play it is, as you can see, what he's doing there, he's literally was changing his shortcut setups because it will make a difference in our ability to do things faster, because it's just way less inputs for every command that you're wanting to do. So even though there is a menu system you can go through your commands, we just don't want to have to spend that time. We'd rather do occasional menus to change what our shortcuts are to what we want, and then we just keep using those during the fights.
The common prevailing wisdom is if you use something 3 times or more, it's worth. Also, I do appreciate the devs giving us a box here so we can try to hit Scarlet for what it's worth.
Why did I ever think for a second she'd be nice
But yeah,
to us?
so we did mention earlier that there is some actual story integration with Yuffie now. The short of it is Yuffie was contacted by the other branch of Avalanche, the proper one that our OG crew has defected from, and they got her a pass to sneak into Shinra, and she's going in here to try to steal materia.
Yep.
Because she is still very materia obsessed. That has not changed.
She definitely, like, it was a one note in the original game, but she's a lot more three-dimensional at this point. At this point, she's still kind of one note, though.
Yeah, there's a few story beats and character tweaks in these games, but Materia Fiend was not one of them.
Yes.
I want my smoking, swearing Sid back. I hate him. This is not my Sid.
They make their materia.
Yeah.
Do you relate more to Ralph Fiennes now? Is that the deal?
So one of the big things too is like they kind of wrap in Deep Ground, which is like from Dirge of Cerberus, which the Nero and Weiss characters were referencing, only show up in really 2 places, in Dirge of Cerberus with Deep Ground, and they actually show up at the end of Crisis Core. They're the guys that take away Genesis at the end of that. So there's a bit of tie-in here that kind of makes a little bit more logic of the story.
Don't pull any punches.
within Remake itself, when you fall down into the underground reactor.
Yeah, that's actually deep ground too.
Yeah, interviews with the devs confirmed that that's Reactor Zero, which is where Deep Ground were based. So they were thinking about how to integrate all of these various parts of the story when they were retelling this, which is really good.
I actually didn't know that was confirmed to be Reactor Zero.
Yeah, so that's there. The dev interviews, they said that that's Reactor Zero.
Kind of did that a bit out of order, but he died anyway, so I'm happy. Some of these inputs are a little bit tight to do them optimally. As when you throw the shuriken into an enemy, you get a different windstorm than when you just use it normally. Regular windstorm will just make it kind of spiral around you and does some like mediocre damage. But if the shuriken's in an enemy, it hits twice for a pretty reasonable amount of damage. Those enemies have to eject from their suits so that you can actually get rid of them. And so if we put the shuriken in the suit and then windstorm at the right time, we'll get the lodged one, but it's a little bit hard to actually hit it. This room's also a little bit goofy too.
I'm so glad that for this part of the game, or the DLC, that when it comes to all of Yuffie's animations, when she is jumping on stuff and interacting with things, they are so much better than Red 13's.
Oh yeah, they're well done.
Red 13 pulling on the levers was one of the most painful things I think I've ever had to witness.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the levers or the chocobo was more cursed. That's the funny part with him.
Hey, the chocobo is perfect. Don't you dare.
The chocobo was everything we all wanted it to be. Okay, so these troopers, it used to be, and again in the PS4 version of this, that we could absolutely nail them down straight off, and we would just go through so much damage so fast that they would just die. But they introduced as part of the kind of re-release that if you, doesn't matter how fast you go through the damage, they will still always have their second phase, and the unit inside will still come out, and you've then got to deal with them. So that slowed us down a wee bit. There's some extra mechanics we had to account for.
Yeah, the worst part is they'll eject sometimes if you're close, but more or less it's just whenever they feel like it, which makes them frustrating. That's probably like the one thing I wish I had back from original Remake, the PS4 drop. There is a little bit of like changes, like things in Remake, OG, Intergrade, Rebirth, and even 16 that like if I could amalgam a game together, we could definitely make the perfect action game. It's all the series have the notes and the pieces and parts of a really good game, but they're decent enough independently, in my opinion, to the point where I speedrun all of them, despite the fact that they're like bazillion hours a piece.
Hey, this is under an hour. That's considered good for us.
Yeah, well, if you're doing this for a marathon, it's a nice grind. If you're trying to do PBs, this is not good for your mental health. It's just flat out not for your. You got to take this casually, or else it'll do something strange to you. So a lot of these.
Kios would like to ask you how Final Fantasy 15 is doing.
Yeah, 15 is Kios is.
You're talking about mental health.
Yeah.
Speaking of 15, I have a little update on that.
Sure.
If we've got a moment.
Go for it.
We have a new incentive that is open. That is for the Final Fantasy 15 run. That's coming up right after this one. It is to do the Piteos Runes optional dungeon. Do you want to see more Final Fantasy 15 content? Do you want to see it go really, really fast? Well, if you do, Kios has you covered, because this dungeon is going to be over in a flash. If you don't know, 15 is incredibly broken. The goal for that incentive is $50. Needs to be met by the end of the run. We are also still looking for $5 more to do that Weiss Superboss fight here in Final Fantasy 7.
Can I just say that Piteos Runes, I hated that. That was Square's first attempt at platforming, and I hope it was their last.
Well, it wasn't their last, because a certain game exists that we should not name.
Saying nothing. Okay, so back to this. So we always pick the same route going through here. We did work out which which trash fights were quickest, because you do get to pick which direction you go. So as you can see here, we're looking up to this one. We're going to pick up left again.
So one of them was like a cutter or a blast ray, and if you played through the original game recently, blast rays are incredibly tanky, so that's a no-go. That one right there is a Magitech Trooper, the ones we were talking about having to eject versus a Moth unit. I'm gonna take the Moth unit every time. Some of these enemies are just criminally overpowered against this party, so we're not even considering it.
Yes, the Mark IIs that I have absolutely no time for. They like to ruin everything in Remake when you get to that route.
Yeah, the Mark IIs here are still kind of obnoxious anyway, because they'll usually survive by just a narrow margin, and they both can put up like a barrier or a magic barrier, so you have to be careful with how you attack them so that you don't hurt yourself by accident. The wheel here is a very weird enemy. You would think because it's a machine, it's weak to lightning. It's actually weak to fire. So we're just gonna punch it as hard as we possibly can. That's the proper solution, correct? Don't use the right element, just hit it. Hit it hard.
Oh, well, I could go Scottish on you and go when in doubt, get a clout. Otherwise known as punch. Yes, I am Scottish. It is 2 AM for me right now, so thanks for this.
I wish I had that excuse. I don't know what those inputs were. I think I was possessed by the bad devil. That was an interesting moment. Okay. Hopefully we don't do that on Scarlet, because if I do Scarlet properly, we can just stun lock her. So this should look cool. If done correctly. I really have to give that one.
You're doing great. You'll get it first time.
The enemies are dying, so obviously I'm doing it right? They're dead, I'm not.
Listen,
it's a victory.
If you don't explain the strats before they happen, whatever you do must be correct as far as chat knows.
So Scarlet should work out pretty good here. We're getting very close to Nero too, so if you guys do want to actually see Weiss, we're getting to the point where we kind of hit no return. Luckily, Nero's a pretty long fight, but that is your last chance.
There is also a pretty long cutscene, so yeah. It was only, what, a few months ago they introduced the X2?
Yes.
Anyway.
The fast forward here is super nice. It speeds up a lot of the boss fights and saves a ton of time. We'll roll with it. Okay, we're not rolling with that. I wanted to pass Thunderga! Just stop with her! I wanted Sono to do it! I didn't think about that for a second. I actually made that mistake in practice, too. When you try to get too good and you outsmart yourself. There we go.
So that's it. So what we're trying to do there is literally pin Scarlet against the wall so she doesn't run around the arena, because she can be quite quick, and we want to be able to target her a lot easier, so that's what we achieved there with the quick restart and a slightly different strats. Well,
I guess we're doing it this way.
With the correct button presses. Incoming pressure, stagger.
She's dead.
Boom.
That's all I gotta say, she's dead. And I might be a little dead on the inside too, I don't know. No. Yep. The problem is we have two Goddard rungs, so it's a little bit awkward to menu the Kindred board there. Because no matter which one you select, it selects the bottom one.
So Goddard Boomerang was an accessory that we could equip that lets you immediately start a fight with full limit break, which sounds great in principle, except everybody's limit break animation is incredibly slow. So we almost always never want to use it in any category.
Yeah, it's Tifa, Sono, or Boss, pretty much.
I believe we may have some news.
I'm down.
Indeed, we do. The Weiss fight has indeed been met.
So, no pressure set, but you've now got the hardest fight in possibly both games to do.
I mean, I've messed up every other fight, so this one will surely go correct.
Absolutely.
Hey. Doing it.
Chat, I have faith. Don't you?
I'm sorry, but that's misplaced. I do appreciate it, though.
We got time for this donation while we're doing this?
Yeah.
Okay. We have $15 from Vincent Valentine, who says, "Let's defeat Weiss. Best of luck to all my RPGLB friends. Lesson 3.
So
I need to make it out from RPG-LB at some point.
Synchronized Art of War kind of hits like a dump truck here, so we take advantage of it. One of the big things that I need to be very careful about is these team attacks. Actually, I have Synergy Lightning, which is something different. Also, Flashbang is actually a cutscene. Why? I don't know. Just thought I'd point that out because I found that it's pretty funny. But Sonoran actually has Synergy Lightning, so whenever Yuffie attacks, he'll cast a Lightning as well. And actually, that'll interrupt our team attacks, so I have to account for that every time. That's why I'm not just attacking immediately over and over again, because I actually need to buffer in between the two to make sure the attack goes out. Also, Nero stinks. I'll let you guys explain that, though.
Yeah, over to you, Heroic.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah, the one fight that I definitely don't know.
I know, okay.
I gotcha. Just let me get through this phase. All right, so the first phase, we want to use Sync Art of War, Sync Windstorm. Those both count for 2 different moves, and Skillmaster requires 3. Sync Art Windstorm also counts as 2, so it gives me a 4-move loop that triggers Skillmaster over and over again. We basically need to phase tank his attacks here, so we're just going to slam Synchronized Art of Wars until he pushes into phase 3. The big thing is I want to make sure that when I'm synchronized, I don't accidentally stagger him, so that's why I was throwing Retrieving there, as goofy as it looked. Nope, you're not binding anybody, buddy. Okay. That was a bit goofy. Not quite sure why I didn't pressure, but whatever. Okay. So you could use ATB Boost here, but that's very dangerous because the animation is so long, so I'm actually just going to use Thermal Form to trigger Skillmaster instead. And then we're going to throw out a Synergized Art of War, and he's going to get pressured. Simply, that's how that works. That's simply how it works. Thank you!
Yeah, dude, pressure. Yeah, okay, we're good. So this fight is now not a bust.
Yeah, and synergy skills are busted.
Yeah, because the way they work in this game, they're very strong.
Alright.
We're gonna
So,
uh-oh, nope, I want to
we're gonna go into the last
Oh yeah, time's coming up here soon. I'm gonna synchronize Art of War the wing here, and it should kill him. So I'll be going into the menu, and that'll be your cue that time's just about to come up. Oh, I have to just tank this. I have to wait for him to teleport, so this will actually land.
H tank it, go for it. You got it.
And time should be now.
No.
Get wrecked.
GG.
All right, so I'm gonna skip these cutscenes, both because they're pretty traumatic, and also I need to switch to the main file to get access to Weiss here. So we're gonna return to the title here and hopefully get Weiss dead within 10 minutes. He'll probably kill me a few times, but that's okay. We're here for fun, right? Right? Right?
Oh, look, I'm here to watch.
I wish I was.
I'm not running. This is pure entertainment for me.
We're going to throw out a haste here to start up, and then we're going to be phase tanking a lot of his attacks to build limit and ATB. All right, buddy, what you got? Oh, that's really kind of annoying. Oh,
So when we walk
that's
through
gonna
this, do we think they're going to include Weiss in part 3?
Come here, buddy.
It feels wrong if he's just a VR boss and doesn't appear in person.
So I think we're going to not just get Weiss, I think we're going to get all of Pika, including Genesis back.
Oh, that would be so good.
I'm genuinely blanking at the moment, but there was a theory that I saw a while ago as for like why, like part of why they're doing it this way, and like it definitely gears up to. Oh right, why? One of the biggest reasons that I've seen for the claim is why else would they release the remaster of Crisis Core and ruin that twist before Part 3 is out, if there wasn't an even bigger twist to utilize. And there's not many twists otherwise in Crisis Core, aside from maybe including more content a la Genesis, Weiss, Nero, Deep Ground, etc. again.
I mean, at this point, I was going to say Nomura happened, but
It's not Nomura. It's not Nomura.
no, this is true. Okay, so we got the stagger. You can see there's a stagger bar there, 255%. You can actually increase that depending on the attack you use. There's some achievements for getting that over certain values. Oh, this is going really well.
I don't know about that. Yeah, we might be able to make this work. That's gonna get caught. Yeah, we might be dead here. Yeah, we are dead. Unfortunately, I put him in stagger with like no ATB, so I couldn't take advantage of the damage multiplier and just kind of burned out from there. Unfortunately, I took too much damage with Tifa to begin with, so I had to kind of reset here a little bit. Okay, you want to just hit me? Sure, yeah, sounds good. Gets me a limit, so I'm not going to complain too much. Okay. Alright, we're gonna play this.
So, I don't think we mentioned it at any point, but one of the main restrictions of the entirety of the hard mode in all of the games is you're not allowed items. So we can't use them at all for anything. So anything that could buff us, anything that we could use to heal us, anything that can do an attack that you throw, we're not allowed. So no elixirs to quickly get your HP and MP back, so we've literally just got what we start with and to get it through.
As long as Cloud is still on that, no, I think he's off the board. That's going to be really annoying.
Some of them you can do with MP. Well, okay, I got you clarified. Some VR fights are you can do in any controller, and so you could use items during them. But this one in particular is hard mode exclusive, which means more damage taken, less damage given, and also you can lock items.
We should be fine. I'll have to force it out, but this will work. This is super scuffed, but it'll be fine. Yeah, that one didn't go quite as planned, but luckily I practiced enough to recover in that situation. Sorry, yeah, time. I didn't know it was going to be time either, to be fair.
GG.
If you're looking for like a really clean Weiss fight, I had a really good one during my Limit Break run as well. But, you know, if I do another marathon, I'm sure I'll do this again. The problem is it's very hard to micromanage 3 characters in this chaos. But yeah, that's about it for the run. I'm gonna see myself out here as quickly as possible since we're a little bit behind. But thanks for having me at the Prevent-A-Thon. I'm looking forward to showing Mega Man X off a little bit later. That's going to be a cool showcase too, all stages. It's a category that's not really well known because I literally invented it. A couple of other runners set it up and took it a little bit further, so I took their routing and tried to implement as much as I could. But I'm glad I got to show off Yuffie, and it went fairly well outside of the game deciding to softlock itself. But you got to do it for a marathon, I guess, right? I voodooed it into the game. You guys have anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. It's been a pleasure to be here. I've been commentating Rebirth and Remake and Intermission runs now for, what, 5 years? Quite often with the Sid. I love doing it. I don't get enough time to actually run myself anymore, but yeah, if anybody's interested, the Discord's fairly active. We're always looking for more people.
Yeah, and I'm just happy to hang out and commentate around with Sid again, as usual. Yeah, that's really it.
Yep. All right, well,
thank you.
Turn it back over to you, Sal.
Thank you all so much. Yeah, stick around, everyone. We'll be back in just with some more announcements.